Welcome, Hearties, to Hearties Hotline. I am Cammie Clements, the Hooked Hearty, and welcome to my beautiful co-host, Sarah.
Hello.
We are here talking season 9, episode 3 of When Calls the Heart, Turn the Page. But we are going to go right out of the gate with what inspired the title of this podcast episode. It's all French to me. So
we're going to start at the end.
Let's just start at the very end. Okay, so I looked up what she says to Gustav because I really wanted to know. I was like, okay, obviously she's thanking him for the party, but that's not what she's saying. So I looked it up and it was thanks for the other night. I'm like, okay, that makes more sense. And did you notice that he called her Mademoiselle?
Oh, I didn't. That didn't make that connection.
He did not call her Madame. And
Okay.
I thought, is that on purpose, or is that just an oversight, or is that
Had he called her Madame before?
I thought so, because, well, at least in English, he has referred to her as Mrs. Thornton.
Yes, and he referred to her as Mrs. Thornton when he was speaking to Lucas.
But Lucas also said Miss Thornton. So I don't know. Is Gustav sending a message?
Well, given the fact that we now know that Gustav is Lucas's cousin, where did that come from?
Why do you think he's still around?
I had to do a double take when that line was said.
Right along with Henry, right?
Right along with Henry. Oh
my word. Okay. So, but yeah, I just thought that was really interesting that he calls her Mademoiselle instead of Madame. Was that just not thinking, or was that kind of saying you're young, you're in love, you're not married now? I don't know.
But like I said, I think it potentially could be more personal given that he's a family member. Like, I wouldn't have thought he would get very personal.
It colors everything differently now.
Because he's like, he works for her boyfriend, but it's more of a family affair. So it could be a more personal comment that we just didn't really see that way.
Yeah. And I also really enjoyed the smile that came on his face when she walked in. I thought that was really sweet, because even though Gustav has been getting really annoyed with Lucas and vice versa this whole episode, he is very happy to see her, and he is legitimately happy for her success. And
yes.
What
was interesting to me is that this seems new, this building animosity between Gustav and Lucas. I don't recall feeling that in previous seasons. So it seems like something new that they're creating for this season for some purpose for the storyline. I don't recall.
I've seen bits and pieces, like when the mushroom sauce dish, what was that? And there was a little bit of animosity with the mushrooms.
That's true.
And so, but yeah, it's gone to a whole nother level. You're absolutely right.
It was to me, it seemed a little out of place when he was like, "Why do you think I gave him around?" And I was like, "Well, because I thought you liked him." Like, until now,
thought he was a good cook.
Just this episode is the only time I really felt like there was a challenge there.
Well, he is a Frenchman, and they have their noses in the air about American food, you know.
Mhm. Well, it makes a lot more sense that Lucas knows how to speak French now if he has French family members. There's just so much more that this explains.
It's very true. It's very true. So
His name is Bouchard, so
yeah, I mean
it's not like
that's
it's
why
not a shock.
Rosemary. What was that?
It's not a shock. I can see the connection. It makes sense. And yet we didn't see it coming.
And it makes sense that Rosemary asked him in season 6 when she first met him if he spoke French, but he said that he didn't speak French, and then he spoke French into the telephone. So
yes.
yeah, I think he was just trying to be mysterious, which he's being mysterious again. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. So here's what he says on the telephone in French.
Okay, you got the transcript here.
I need more time to earn his trust. You have to listen to me. I can help you stop him, but I can't do it alone. Are you listening? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Jeanette is the friend that he helped with Amos Dixon.
I believe so.
I'm pretty sure.
I believe that is I mean, it's the same name, whether that, I can't imagine they would use the same name for somebody different.
Right.
For the same character so soon.
Uh-huh.
So in my mind, it's the same person in theory. I just feel like there's something misleading here. Like it's too easy to have that all be about Wyman. And I feel like there's a twist in the way he phrased something. I just keep thinking about those lines and thinking that he's referring to Wyman in a different way than we think he is. Like he's trying to get somebody else to trust him. It's Wyman's obviously involved, but I don't think
that's
I
interesting.
think there's something that doesn't something doesn't line up.
That's interesting that you would say that, because when Wyman went up to the bar to cash out with Lucas, Lucas said to him, "You strike me as a man who knows when he needs a partner." So that kind of
here's the thing. So early in the episode, Lucas references Wyman being a backup offer with the oil business.
Mm-hmm.
Then he has that exchange with Wyman that seems to have a lot of animosity in it. They were not being friendly with each other. There seemed to be an undercurrent of distaste for each other. And it just, to me, like those conversations didn't line up throughout the episode. Each one by themselves, I could just take at face value and say, yeah, that's exactly what it looks like is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But when I play those scenes back to back in my head, I there's something that does not line up. And I feel like it's just a matter of the phrasing. Maybe they're trying to get, maybe there's still something with Smith. Maybe there's something with somebody we don't know about at all. Maybe there's
how did all of these crooked people get into Hope Valley?
Maybe it's still something with Gowan and they're trying to get, maybe he's, I mean, in terms of like, I'm trying to get him to trust me. Maybe that's like in reference to Gowan, or I just feel like we're missing something because he didn't say any names. I feel like it was phrased in a way to lead us down a path when it really means something else. And I could be wrong, but
there's next week I get to tell you that you were wrong, right?
If I'm wrong.
If you're wrong.
Yeah. But I have a pretty good track record on these things lately.
Moving on. Okay, let's go to Wyman. So he, oh gosh, earlier in the week, Heart and Home, the channel in Canada, they tweeted out, who do you prefer, Smith or Wyman? I said Smith. Wyman is a slime ball.
Oh, really? Okay, so okay, Hearties, this is where you're gonna really get to see what's going on, because I responded to that same tweet, and I went with Wyman. I said I would do business with Wyman over Smith. Smith seems maniacal. The way he was twisting with Henry and trying to act all sweet, and then laughs at his, just right in his face. I was like, no way, this guy is up to no good. Wyman, I feel so far, based on what I know, to me, I think they are playing him up like he's crooked, and I think he's greedy, and I think he's very, self-centered in his motivations. But I don't see him as being the drop down, drag out, this guy's up to no good. I feel like there's more opportunity for him to be redeemed based on what we know, because he could, like, his stuff could be figured out easier, I think, into he was just being very greedy and wanted to get a lot of money for himself. Whereas Smith was at the mine. Smith was behind some of that really, really bad stuff. And at that time, we thought Henry was behind all this really, really bad stuff. And while he was, to a certain extent, we now love Henry. And we want to find a way to give him a little bit of reprieve in all of that.
We want to give him some leeway.
The only way to do that is to have somebody else who also was to blame, which looks like it's Smith. It seems to me Smith is culpable in that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And I don't see how I could get past that.
Well, we are split right down the middle.
Split right down the middle. But I will say, on his behalf, Wesley Salter did reply to my tweet with a lovely gif of maniacal laughter. So I am still on his side, because that was really,
and that's the reason, because the actor
he tweeted with me, and yeah, it was pretty good. So,
oh dear,
I feel like he was very involved in that thread, and he was really fun in terms of really trying to drag a lot of comments out of people, and talk to them about the different characters, and kind of try to rally for Wyman, which was fun, and I could see that being fun throughout the season with him on Twitter. Either way, if he's going good or going bad.
All right, so all of you tell us who you prefer, because we haven't seen
This is gonna be Team Wyman versus Team Smith.
Gosh, we've got another team. We got another team competition going on. So now let's go back to the character of Wyman Walden, shall we? Yes, thank you.
In that conversation with Lucas, that was just an odd interaction to me.
It was odd because, see, what it looked like to me is Lucas was trying to insert himself. I think that Lucas is trying to go undercover. And that's what I think, because Wyman says to him, you strike me as the kind of man who knows when to mind his own business. So he's trying to dismiss him. And then Lucas retorts with, you strike me as the kind of man who knows when he needs a partner. And there was a little tiny look in Wyman's eyes, almost as if Lucas got him. He intrigued him.
Right.
So that's what led me to believe that final conversation is indeed about Wyman.
No, I think it's about him, but I think it's about somebody else also. And I think that it was worded in a way so that you think when he says him every time he says him, he's talking about Wyman. I think he's talking about Wyman and somebody else. And so I think that
maybe Spurlock.
The negative part of the comments could be about somebody else. Whereas, yes, he is trying to get Wyman to trust him in order to solve whatever problem this is.
Okay. Maybe
that's
Spurlock.
That's all I'm saying.
Do you think it could be Spurlock?
It definitely could be Spurlock. I want to know more about that guy. And I really, really hope they mention his relative, whatever the connection is to the original Spurlock. I'm like, please just mention it.
If it is indeed a connection. And
I don't think
relative.
Spurlock is a super common Canadian name in the 19th.
Hey, if you haven't done the research, I want documentation. Okay.
I believe somebody said, during an interview last season, I believe John Tinker said, yes, there is a connection.
Okay.
But I think that was as far as we got with any intel on that. But it would just, it was, I mean, they went out of their way to have Bill say something about the name. Like, I think, didn't he say something like Spurlock or something like that? Maybe. Like that name rings a bell or something.
Maybe.
So just having that acknowledgement would be nice to have.
So I'm jumping ahead really quick, and I have a prediction that Lucas's Shiner that we see next week, I'm predicting that Spurlock gives it to him. Before the season started, I thought it was Nathan. But now
I don't think so. Depending upon when he has the black eye next week, I'm going to counter your prediction.
Ooh.
I'm going to say, just to be fun, because I've known a lot of people this has happened to actually in real life, I'm going to say that some sort of hijinks happen during babysitting and little Jack gives it to him. We will see. That would be a great initiation into fatherhood for him.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would. Okay. All right. So let's go to the book. First of all, I have got to talk about Molly. I don't know about you, but
okay, I admit it. If anybody saw my tweets, I totally didn't see that coming. I totally didn't think of Julie one time, and the character
neither did I.
The character was named Juliet.
Oh, we're a disgrace, Sarah.
It really was. Once Elizabeth described it, I was like, oh yeah, that's totally Julie.
But just how she was so upset and offended the entire episode.
I mean, she's the only redhead apparently in Hope Valley, so.
I mean, when she says, don't you think it's a bit obvious? And then Elizabeth starts to answer, well, it wasn't meant to be the fiery redhead who's always on the lookout for a new suitor. My sister's not very happy about it either. And all three of them just go, your sister? Juliet. Poor Molly, open mouth, insert foot.
I want to comment on the dynamic that was happening most of the episode with Florence and Ned and Molly. Yes. Because I found it so cute that Florence and Molly are continuing their little gossipy, fun.
They're still the girls. They're still Flomo.
And they're still Flomo. And you've just got Ned along for the ride. he's totally okay with it. He doesn't he's not rolling his eyes or maybe a little bit, but he's like, this is just normal. This is just,
well, he's too busy reading the book.
This is just my wife and her best friend, and this is just what they do. And that was very sweet, seeing as how new of a relationship Florence and Ned have. It was really sweet that there wasn't just this there was no competition, there was no third wheel kind of feeling. It was just a very nice relationship, and kind of showed that Molly and Ned don't really have a direct connection, but they're totally friendly and get
they're
along
cool with
and
each other.
comfortable. They're very comfortable with each other.
Yeah. The relationship is very settled with all three of them.
Yes.
And you would think that Ned and Florence had been married for a decade or more.
It was very,
So, okay, question. Was Ned being truthful when he said, I like to finish what I start? Or was he that enthralled with the book?
I think both. He definitely strikes me as somebody who would finish what he starts.
Yeah.
I mean, he invented the Band-Aid, for goodness sakes. He didn't come home with Florence from their honeymoon so that he could see this project through to a finish.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ned just seems like kind of straight-laced a little bit. I mean,
he's completely straight-laced.
I feel like that's a good description that most people wouldn't argue with. And so I think that's what makes that so interesting, is I do think he would be finishing something he starts, but then it also has that great kind of flip side to it of like, he is so straight-laced and this is really interesting. This book is maybe scandalous,
Elizabeth Thornton writing a scandalous book. That's funny.
As scandalous as it could get.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah. And
especially if people are seeing things that aren't necessarily there. If they're looking for things.
Okay.
In the characters.
So Florence says that she had her doubts about the married shopkeepers. If they weren't such sticks in the mud, I might have taken offense, just like you have.
Yeah.
Did you see Molly's face?
It's a good thing Florence is not a stick in the mud.
It's a good thing.
Really good thing. Yeah.
Oh, and Ned has a new saying now. That's the ticket.
He just says that that's something. He likes to start sentences.
That's the fill in the blank.
Yeah. We should take guesses on what the next one will be. So that's the berries. That's the ticket. Has he said that's like the bee's knees? Has he said that one? Because
no, and Ned of all people. Now, it might be a little early for that one. I think that was more of a 40s and 50s.
Maybe he invents that too.
Okay.
He's very inventive.
So, speaking of Ned talking. Oh boy.
He does talk.
He does talk, yes, but he just had to open his mouth and ask Nathan if he had read Elizabeth's book. By this time, Ned is pretty much finished with the book. And so he knows what all is being said about this Mountie in the book.
But Florence asked Nathan first if he had read the book.
Yes. Well, kind of.
So they're both interested to know. And Florence was quite a bit more inserting herself into the situation than Ned was. Ned was trying to be a little bit more diplomatic, I think.
A little bit, but
but he was very curious.
The look of annoyance on poor Nathan's face. He started to get the gritted teeth. He's like, no.
Okay, but
Ned.
Here's the thing. So here's my question. Has Nathan read it and now he's just not saying he's read it?
I don't think so, because he's kind of avoiding reading it.
Okay.
That's what it looks like.
That's what I wasn't quite sure on, because he was eager to get it.
Yeah, he was eager to get it and make it out to the one that got away. What?
Yeah, he's really
pushing it.
Yeah.
He's pushing the envelope a little bit.
A little bit. I think he's not quite over things as much as he thinks he is.
No. Well, I mean, he says it with Florence and Ned. Now, do you know what it means to have a flouted heart? I looked it up. So
I don't specifically. I mean, I can infer based on the conversation.
to treat with contemptuous disregard. Basically, it means scorned. So
I mean, I don't see that as an accurate description of what happened entirely.
I just think that it's funny that Nathan is so insistent on so many things. He's like, no, Ned, I haven't. And then as he walks out, and I'm not looking for a new courtship, and I don't have a flouted heart.
Yeah.
He's very insistent on those points. Yes.
You know, as much as I think that that could all be just this emotional thing, also think about what else is happening. Like all of this is happening to him at once. He's recovering from this accident. His horse is having trouble and he's not connecting with his horse, who he's always had this amazing connection with. And, you know, if people aren't animal people, they might not get that. But like having a connection with your animal is
vital.
Really, well, I mean, in this position, especially.
In this position, it is vital. It is critical.
But with anybody, you have like an emotional connection with your pet. Like that's just, and then you've been through trauma and you know they've been through trauma. So you want to like have this connection to heal each other. And that would be extremely frustrating and sad to be in that kind of position and not feel that connection right now. And then you add in all the other stuff. And then Allie's been gone for a month.
See, I think that is part of his problem. Allie is not there as a buffer. Allie is not there to be the sunshine in his life as he's going through all of this terrible stuff.
Okay. You know, when you said buffer, I got the wrong picture, but like,
oh no,
I see her really as being his rock.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of the flighty one in the relationship a little bit. I love him. Yeah, but he's like, he just I
think they take turns. I think they take turns.
And yeah, but I mean, she really grounds him. She really is his purpose. We've talked about that before, you know, with Jack, the Mountie thing was who he was. And with Nathan, it's his job and he loves it and he does a really great, amazing job at it. But it's
Allie is who he is.
Allie defines him.
Yeah.
And that's got to be so difficult to be going through all of this. Part of it's probably good, like, you know, kind of get a broken heart, like you don't have to deal with the parenting thing for a little while. That might be helpful. But at the same time,
you don't have to deal with all of her questions in regards to it,
which she would have. Yeah. But yes, that's got to just, and then add it on all of the health issues he's having right now.
Well, and then add on May. And
I don't know how to add her on right now.
Well,
too many questions.
So many questions, but he's trying to get
to know her.
He's trying to get to know her. He's trying to put out feelers. Let's face it, he wants to court her no matter what he says. He wants to move towards
he's
that.
In denial.
He's in total denial. And so, you know, he wanted to work with her on Newton. Meet me at the ring. She completely just turns him down flat and says, I think I should work with Newton alone. You know, so the poor guy's dealing with a lot. But I didn't quite know how to take this when Lucas says it's a pretty good inscription. I was like, what are you trying to say, man?
I thought that part of me thought that he just didn't know what to say in that moment.
Yeah.
He just pulled something out and then it was awkward. I don't know. I'm gonna have to watch that one again to really get a better opinion on that scene, because that one was one that I was like, what?
Let's talk about another scene where Lucas didn't quite know what to say. Trying to get Elizabeth down to the party.
Okay, who has ever thrown a surprise party? Have you ever thrown a surprise party? Have you ever had challenges with your surprise party? I felt so many things during this scene, but it was so realistic and so funny. I mean,
I
on
laughed.
so many levels. There were so many moments of this that I was just like, this is pure gold. I don't think anything could be better than Hickham's response. But there were so many different moments that were just like, oh, oh, oh. It was just played so well.
When he said, but first a kiss, and just grabs her, and then he's peeking out. I died.
It was the best. It was the best between just the writing and the physical action of that scene. It took it to just a whole different level, I thought.
Oh my gosh. It was so funny. He starts out all charming. How about dinner? You know, but in that scene, we get a wonderful note from Helen. You have pulled the sword from the stone, my dear, and unleashed your power over the written word. And we all know that from Helen Bouchard, that's a compliment.
Ooh. Yeah.
I loved how they both said we're switching roles. It's good that they're acknowledging it. You know,
yes.
This is a switch. You finding me looking over Main Street, and it's also a switch to find you brooding. What's wrong? So, yeah. And this was, I didn't put it as my favorite line on my scorecard, but it was definitely one of them. You're open and vulnerable. Don't ever let anyone callous your heart.
That was, it's tough. I know not everybody loves Lucas. I have people in my home that are not humongous Lucas fans. Sorry. After that, he went up several notches.
With your girls?
With my girls.
Wow.
I don't know that they're firmly on board with him and Elizabeth's relationship. But how could you watch that scene and not be like, wow?
It's sweet. He cares about her. He's encouraging.
Very caring.
Yeah.
Very caring. Helping her through a very stressful moment of her life, giving her great advice. And then to top it off, you've got the balance between him doing exactly what she says when she's like, no, I just want to sit here with you. Okay, let's do that. That's what you want. We will
sound
do that.
Nice.
Sounds wonderful. Let's do that. So really valuing what she wants and not immediately pushing her into going downstairs.
And then just giving up.
And then finally just realizing that he can't figure out what to do and admitting that. And just like, I really loved that, just the honesty of that scene.
Yeah.
In so many different ways.
This probably has to do with the fact that we just finished going over season 2, but did you hear it? Can we stay up here just a little longer? Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
It's like,
when she
anybody?
I was like, oh. Yes, I immediately went there and I was kind of watching to see if there would be any other like callbacks, but
memories were flooding into my head right there. Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty great. So we have to talk. Move over, Rosemary.
Okay, what is the first thing that came into your head when she walked in and did that? What is
surprised and delighted? That's what I tweeted. I tweeted that out right then. I said, move over, Rosemary. Somebody else knows how to be surprised and delighted.
Mine was, it was always you.
Oh,
that's exactly what the mother did.
Also a wonderful reference.
And another Aaron Krakow project.
Exactly. So I can see how you made the connection.
I was not expecting this at all. Rosemary says, "Oh, you don't say."
I will tell you though, I love how Rosemary didn't call her out on it at the party.
No.
Old Rosemary would have.
Yeah, she would have. I mean, the way that Lee and Rosemary's faces just kind of, what are you doing?
They just know her too well. They just know her too well.
But
And I love Lucas's face when she did it too. Like,
and yeah, Rosemary said to Lucas, she knew, but she did not say that to Elizabeth.
And also Lucas's reaction when she said she was going to act.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You could do that.
If you think Rosemary Coulter can deliver a performance, watch this.
That must have been so fun for her.
So...
to think that she was upstaging Rosemary in any way, shape, or form. So sweet of her to think that.
I bet those were really fun scenes for Aaron to film.
Oh, I can't even imagine, especially knowing just how good of friends Aaron and Pascal are in real life. I'm sure that they just had a ball with that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay, let's switch over to Henry for a second.
Oh my gosh. Before we go really deep into him, because there's some deep stuff sometimes, I was really disappointed in him with not wanting to go to Faith as a doctor. That really surprised me after he was the first one to call her doctor. And like, I just didn't see it coming. And like in hindsight, yeah, okay, it makes sense. And you kind of got to do it with somebody, and that makes sense that it might be him. But I was disappointed in that. I thought he was gonna get behind her.
It's not that he's not behind her. He's embarrassed. He doesn't feel comfortable disrobing in front of a woman.
He wouldn't even go to do his blood pressure.
No, he said he would, just not right at that moment.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a valid point. It's a valid point that women got to do that all the time for male doctors. So yeah,
it's true. It is so true. But back in that
I get
time,
that. But I also wonder how much of it is think of how long Henry avoided going to see Carson. He's a lot of avoidance anyway with doctors. And I don't know that that's a doctor avoidance as much as it is a denial of his own problems.
I thought it was really big of him to go and be honest with her.
I agree.
That he actually went up and told her, I'm not comfortable with a woman giving me my physical exam. He doesn't feel comfortable being in minimal clothing around a woman.
Yeah.
And that's a very common practice for that time. So
yeah, I mean, I think, yeah. I did love her comeback though when he first. Oh well, that appointment was with Carson. Oh, are you going to Baltimore?
Yeah. that was a good one.
How did you think that was going to happen?
It's interesting that interaction shook Faith so much that she felt the need to call Carson. And then it was, of course, very sad that she couldn't get a hold of him.
So my kids misunderstood that scene. And so they were, when the person refused to take her message without a last name, they thought that meant Carson said he didn't know who Faith was. And I was like,
no.
He didn't know which Faith she was. I was like, no.
No,
I think they just refused to take a message without a last name and didn't think that he would have a personal. I don't know. They were trying to be very formal. Yeah.
Yeah.
That made her a little uncomfortable. But I wonder if part of the reason that made her concerned is because Henry's had so many problems with his health, and she was worried that he was then going to not take care of himself.
That's
And
a good
so
point.
I'm not sure if she was, I mean, I think part of her was calling because she was like, what do I do about this? But I think the other piece to that is, how do I make sure that the people of this town are safe if they won't see me? Like, what do I do next to ensure their health?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I love that even though Carson and Faith have had this breakup, and potentially not spoken to each other in months, that she is calling him
She feels
for the
like she
good,
can still go to him.
for what I see as being a patient issue, not necessarily a personal issue. I think there's a piece of a personal issue there.
I see both. I see
But
both.
if it was solely a personal issue, I don't think she would have called him.
You're right. You're right. If it was solely personal, I don't think she would have. But because it was so intertwined with
Yes.
personal and professional, that he was the only one to call.
Yeah. And it's not like you can discuss your patients and their health problems with other people. So it's not like she, even though Fiona, even though Fiona wasn't around right then to talk to as one of her best friends, she couldn't go to Fiona and say, well, Henry has this and this and this going on with his health and he won't see me. Like, but she could talk to Carson about that because he knows the history, the medical history.
Yeah. So Henry hasn't decided if he's going to stay with Gowan Petroleum. Kind of ironic, isn't it? And this was another interesting line when Lucas says to him, change doesn't have to be beyond our control. It can be whatever we want it to be. And Henry just slaps him on the back and says, only a man in love could have that outlook. It was a much more favorable conversation, but I could not help comparing it to the season 3 conversation between Jack and Henry.
And Lee? Oh, okay.
No, Jack and Henry.
Oh, that's right.
Because then Henry accuses Jack of having certain opinions because he's involved with Elizabeth, and Jack has to remind him, my relationship with Elizabeth has nothing to do with this. So he's trying to hide his schemes, and he's trying to go over the law by telling him that he's favoring his relationship with Elizabeth. And here Henry's slapping him on the back and saying, yeah, I'm all for it.
Well, he's grown a lot.
Well, yeah.
He doesn't really have, it doesn't have a negative impact on him. So
no, it doesn't. I thought the difference between the two was really telling on how far he has come personality wise and character wise and all of that.
Yes. Okay. So speaking of the sign, there has been a recent interview in which it was revealed that a sign in Hope Valley will come down this year.
Yeah, I heard about that.
The original thought that I think everybody went to was Abigail's, because I don't think people know what all the signs are like frequently. I mean, that's the sign you see all the time is Abigail's Cafe, or Yoast's Mercantile, and I don't see that one going down.
And Dottie's dress shop has already
shop already was gone, so we didn't see it come down. So we're not thinking that's the one they were talking about. So I mean, I think everybody was just assuming it would be Abigail's, especially with Canfield's discussing possibly taking that over. But there was such a focus on Gowan looking at the Gowan Petroleum sign that I do wonder if it could be that one. Because, and then they specifically mentioned if it would still be called that. So that's the other possibility that I see right up there. One of those two signs.
It's an option. Let's go to the Canfields since you brought them up. We finally find out what is eating at poor little Cooper. Oh my goodness. It's eating at him
Yeah.
that.
Well, and you also find out though that he doesn't have all of the information about things that have
Mhm.
happened with their family. Which, you know, who's to say if that's right or wrong. I see that their parents' reasonings for keeping some of that from them at this age. I love that they said this is something we're going to have to discuss with them
When they
at
can
some point.
understand it.
The only challenge to that is something like that, an issue like that, being discriminated against and all of that. There's never really a point that that's fully understandable. So hopefully they're able to have that conversation in a meaningful way that is able to help bring some clarity for him.
I am really glad that we're finally digging down deep enough to find out what is going on with him. That's why he doesn't want to go to church. He is wondering why God let his sister go blind and he didn't. Why her?
Because
not
they both
me?
were sick.
They both had the measles. I think it was at different times because Angela was really little.
Well, or even just, oh, I don't remember how old they said she was, but
I don't remember how old they said she was,
it.
but I thought it was somewhere between 2 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
So
how much older do you think she is than Cooper? Maybe.
I mean, the height difference is a little, it throws me off a little, but I would say like maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
So I just assumed that they had measles at different times.
Yeah.
When he said, you know, the longer you're married to me, the smarter you get.
I get smarter when I have to deal with trials too. Difficult people.
I get smarter when I have to keep thinking of different ways to handle you. Yeah.
Yeah. You've taught me a lot.
It reminded me of one of my favorite lines in the Cosby Show. And Will and I still say it to each other all the time. But Cliff says to Claire, "Oh, you are a genius, and I am a genius because I married you." So that was that end when Minnie says, "I have an idea," and Joseph is all intrigued. "Ooh, but I can't be late to work though." You know, it's one of those.
They just play off each other.
Playful, fun, lighthearted moments of marriage that you just love to watch. They're so fun.
They are so fun. I'm so looking forward to more with them.
And they go so deep that this is a good thing that we see them lighthearted so that we know they can be, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
how about the kids in the schoolhouse reading Mrs. Thornton's book? Can you believe they put that book in front of Angela?
Timmy is just, that was wrong.
And yet so brilliant because
what? Sarah?
If you think of it, the blind person doesn't see who puts it in front of you. Like he was thinking it was a bad idea. But he was like, anybody else will give it back to me.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, I mean, she didn't even care. I love it.
So now here's something interesting. I had a pretty good idea that the boys would be bored. I thought the boys would be bored. So Timmy, Cooper, I figured they would be bored. We didn't see Robert in this episode, but I figured that he would not sit down and read it, even if it was his teacher. But the girls, I was surprised. We didn't hear what Opal had to say about it, but Emily said, I wasn't even listening. That kind of shocks me that they...
Was she not listening or was she trying to not get in trouble?
I don't know. And see, either way, I thought that her female students would love this story,
Yeah.
because their teacher wrote it. It's from a female point of view. And then of course we have the line, she considered them her children, and every one of them filled her heart with joy. I mean,
Huh?
who is going to say that is boring?
Yeah, totally. Although I will say it was nice that Allie was away. She probably wouldn't have enjoyed it.
I don't know. Allie loves to read. She loves reading. So it all depends on what's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it all depends on whether or not that Mountie is based on her uncle. So, by the way, where is Luther Brandt? Where is Luther Brandt? I thought that we were getting a kind of combination of a man who was a saloon owner who used to be a Pinkerton and had a young daughter. So
I mean, Helen made her go through a lot of rewrites, so it's possible Luther Brandt got lost,
got sunk
in the shuffle
on the cutting room floor.
There was a lot of editing, apparently.
A lot.
And also, I have to say, when she was starting that book and there was all the talk about Luther Brandt and everything, it really seemed like a love story that she was writing.
It did seem like it.
It's now called A Single Mother on the Frontier, which just leads me to believe, even if there's a love story in it, that it's more geared towards her life as a mother, and her life in town and as a teacher. So,
but if memory serves me correctly, she had that title before there was all the talk about Luther Brandt.
That's possible too. Yeah.
So interesting concept.
I am sure we will hear more excerpts from this book as the season continues.
I am very certain of that fact. So let's end with probably one of the sweetest parts, the sweetest non-romantic part of the episode, which is the letter to the editor that Rosemary got from that single mother. Because we know that Elizabeth was getting some very personal negative remarks, not just about her story. I think it's a good reminder to all of us fans that there are real people behind characters and behind Twitter profile pics.
Yeah.
But this was a good book review. And what probably my favorite line out of that whole letter was, I feel much more at peace about facing my tomorrows, for I know there's a better day coming.
To me, that's what this show is.
Yeah.
We can have our opinions, we can have our storylines, we can have our debates about what we think is happening behind the scenes, or what the purpose is for all of these storylines and arcs, but the bottom line is it's about the people, and it's about what it could be, what tomorrow can bring. And yeah, I thought this was a beautiful way to kind of summarize why the show is important
and why it's important for us as fans to be supportive of the people, not just characters.
Yeah.
The people involved.
Yeah. We don't always have to love the storyline. We don't always have to
agree
and be on board with everything, but yeah, just to remember that there's people, and that they're trying, and that there's reasons behind everything that you might not know. Yeah. I thought it was just a really beautiful way to bring Elizabeth back to realizing why she wrote the book, why she was there, why she wanted to write, why she wanted to be in Hope Valley. It's just such an amazing way to feel like you've touched other people. And it doesn't matter if people don't get you, don't understand, they're going to forget. They're going to be like, okay, that didn't make sense to me. I didn't like that book, whatever, move on. The people that you connect with, that's such a deeper experience, and it makes a difference. It makes an actual difference.
And then we see the preview for next week. Lucas offers to watch Jack, and you think that's where he gets the shiner.
It could be. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Kids
go wild with their toys.
Kids can be wild sometimes. It can happen. It's a possibility. I will say so. Overwhelming response from our viewers that we polled. Lucas babysitting next week is the number one thing that people are looking forward to. There are many other things people are excited about, but that was definitely the number one response we were getting.
That's gonna be really interesting. And we see a whole different side of Lucas. He says,
although me. Still in a 3-piece suit.
Yeah, but he goes, me. Who are you? What have you?
Of course. Of course.
Who are you and what have you done with Lucas Bouchard? And then we see a complete 180 when he says, I am warning you, stay away from Mrs. Thornton and her son, which makes you wonder, what is Wyman and what is Spurlock intending for Elizabeth?
It seems like a very odd phrase.
It does.
And again, not saying that it doesn't happen this way, but the way they were smiling at each other when he appeared to be threatening them, I feel like that was spliced together a little bit to get a reaction. So he may not actually be threatening them when they're smiling, kind of hoping he isn't, because that's weird.
I still predict that Spurlock gives Lucas the shiner. So we'll see if
it could happen. Yeah, it could happen.
We'll see.
I definitely trust him less than Wyman.
Yeah, definitely.
He's kind of scary looking.
So the last two things of note that I saw in the preview were number one, the superintendent.
Yeah.
Says
he's back.
Yeah. What's his name again? Landis.
He's actually not the superintendent. He's the inspector. He's the school inspector.
Oh, he's the school. Yeah, Mr. Landis. He says that Elizabeth's certification is worthless, which will
so
be
is that
problem.
Her general certification he's trying to now pull down, or did she just get the Braille certification?
She got the certification to teach a blind student, and so I'm wondering if it's that one or if it's her general certification. Yeah, we don't know. And then
and actually, do we know that she did get certified? Because the last I remember, she said she was going to get certified the next time it was offered in her area.
But that was last season. So
but I just don't know how long of a time frame that was. We're only a couple months later.
I'm assuming that we went through summer break during the season break because school was ending.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty sure that that's what she was waiting for to happen.
School was starting at the end of last season because when they rang the bell.
That's right. Oh, well then now I don't know.
So I feel like it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, maybe. And then May tells Bill that she's a fugitive of sorts.
Of sorts.
So Hearties, we will be biting our nails with you.
Not an actual fugitive, just of sorts.
No,
just of sorts.
Of sorts.
Not that big a deal. Just a little bit.
Okay, Sarah, I want your hot take on the spot answer. Is May a married woman? Yes or no? Go.
No.
Okay.
That's my gut. She may have been. I don't think she is now.
I think she is,
but
I think there's a story. I think there's yeah, but I think that technically she still is, but
it's possible.
It's only going to take a couple of technicalities for her to not be. So That's what I say. So we will keep finding out.
I feel like this season has more individual mysteries. Like there's
It's true.
more individual things we're like, oh, what's gonna happen with that?
We're gonna go before we get any deeper. So good night, Hearties.
Bye.
Bye.